Hello, listeners and fans of the Daily Motor Podcast. This week, Alissa and I are heading out on our honeymoon, and I am unable to record a podcast episode. And rather than have Chris try to come up with an hour's worth of content to speak to you with, we decided to release our very first trial episode of the Daily Motor Podcast. If you listened to our episode 2 that I released, I think what was episode 20, that we kind of re-released, recorded with Max. This is, even before that, this was the very first iteration ever of the Daily Motor Podcast. And unfortunately, there's no video because we were first kind of just getting the lay of everything and getting the hang of it. It was audio only, so you'll just have a nice view of the Daily Motor logo made by our buddy Skyler Benn. Shout out. This was our first attempt at recording any sort of podcast, and we thought it'd be kind of fun to release it here and give you something to listen to satisfy you for this week. And we'll be back next week once Alissa and I return, and Chris and I will get back to you with all the cars we've been driving and see what we've purchased next. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the very first lost episode of the Daily Motor Podcast. Oh, Hitler. Hey, everybody. It's Charlie from Daily Motor, and we are here with the first ever Daily Motor Podcast. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing what every other podcaster or auto channel does, and they start a podcast. Wow, so unique, Charlie. Congratulations. But what is unique is we also have Maxwell B. Mortimer. Is that how you like to go
That's what my
officially?
byline is.
That's
fine.
Maxwell Benson Mortimer here because he is a great vocal personality, and we're just going to kind of see how this podcast goes. We're going to let it grow and develop just as any young infantile thing should do. But what's most important is we both really care about cars. We care about cars and have opinions, and I feel like that's probably one of the most important things for having a podcast. Do you even have a personal vehicle right now?
No.
You do not?
No, I
Is
don't.
this the longest you've gone since being a 16-year-old without having...
Oh, for sure. This is like the only time.
Yeah?
So since I was 16, I was given a 97 Honda Accord.
Automatic?
It was an automatic.
Yep.
Hand-me-down from
V6?
my cousins. No, it was an inline 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was like the old 1.7, I want to say, or 1.5 maybe even.
They did a 1.5 naturally aspirated.
Yeah, it was
four-cylinder.
like less than 100 horsepower. So I
throttle.
still managed to find myself getting into trouble in it. I think I've shown you that picture before of me like down in the snow ditch.
Probably
one night
at
it
one
was
point
snowing and I just
yeah.
went out and was like ripping the e-brake,
manual
16-year-old
e-brakes.
stuff. Yeah,
Sure.
Got stuck in a snowdrift and
I
had
am
to call my mom.
I am a wholehearted believer that front-wheel drive vehicles saved me as a young driver from just doing something really stupid.
Yeah, I think of all the damage that I caused with front-wheel drive, and I think that rear-wheel drive would have only exacerbated or multiplied the damage. But I probably would have learned quicker anyways.
That's true.
For some reason, I managed to like understeer into the curb during the winter
I did
more
the
than
same
one
exact
time.
thing.
Yeah,
I did the same. I was like, hey, this will be cool.
Yep.
And then just...
And then you always have that moment after when your butt's puckered and you're like, oh God. And then you're like, please, it'll be fine. I'm just going to drive off. And then you get up to like 35 and there's like this crazy vibration or like you can tell something's bent or not right. So
I broke the wheel on my Taurus doing that, like sliding into a curb. And it just fucking just...
Yep.
Like,
yeah, thank God I didn't have to pay for any of that stuff at that time. But yeah, that they were learning moments for sure. And back to the original question of, is this the longest time? Yes, absolutely. I've been without a car for like probably 2 years now.
And that is because you are an editor at Car and Driver magazine, so you get to drive the boozy shit.
Sometimes, yes.
Well, you got a Supra right now, don't you?
I do have a Supra right now. Yeah.
You guys have had that 18 months at least? It's been most of COVID.
Yeah, probably all of COVID, and I'm trying to think of when it actually arrived. Yeah, I think it was pretty much just like, because I think it was after we got the X7 that we got the Supra.
You still have the X7?
No.
That probably got miles out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's gone. That was done in January, so.
The BMW X5 and X7 are probably their best vehicles.
Yeah.
They are so good.
I will say, driving the new M3 and M4, I'm sorry. driving the new M3 and M4 has been like
Those are really good.
eye-opening. If you've driven, the previous generation, I can't remember the alphanumeric
F80 or
code.
something. Or am I thinking of something totally
Yeah,
different?
well,
Or was
no,
it
it's the same. I think it's just the same as the normal 3 Series.
Yeah,
So it'd be the
yeah.
F10 because it's the G20 now.
Yep.
So those two cars, like, hella improved. The ride's a lot better. The steering's better. The manual feels good in the manual cars, and like honestly have like a good amount of power. The sound is better. Like I would say they're all improved on every metric. But the thing about the SUVs that I've always liked is like the steering and the feel of like just driving the SUV. It's not like it's a sports car or something, but it feels like a car.
Yeah.
You can drive an X7 and totally not get the feeling of, being just like, I mean, it's not to say that it's like all buttoned down and stuff, because it can be wallowy and whatnot, but like when you want it to and you put it in like Sport Plus, I mean, I did the entire Blue Ridge Parkway in like, I think that's Tennessee and North Carolina and kind of like that area, and it's great. It felt great.
That was the M50i trim?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what they did with that chassis and how fast you can hustle those cars for what they are. Nothing that heavy and that tall has any right going that fast.
It has such massive like wheels and tires. It's got like 22-inch wheels, and I want to say, I think it was 22-inch wheels, and
Nuts.
and if anything, they were 21, so like no big deal. But the rear tires are 315 on that thing. So and you then factor in like rear wheel steering and stuff, and it really does kind of like shrink the profile of it, at least from a perception standpoint.
Did you all run 22-inch winters on that, or did you get smaller wheels?
We got 20. Yeah,
20.
we downsized to a 20.
Downsized to a 20. What a fucking concept.
That's very 2021.
15 years
to say.
ago. Yeah, we downsized to 20s
Yep.
on our SUV.
Yep.
I always go back, and I know we've talked about this, but I always go back to the 2002 Dodge Ram, back when it was a Dodge Ram, and they had those 5-spoke flower pedal 20-inch wheels.
Oh yeah,
And they were kind of girly for a truck, to be honest, but they were
like
20s.
iconic now.
Yeah, everyone was like, 20s?
My dad
That is
got one of
nuts.
those
Yeah,
right when it
my
came
dad got
out,
one
and
of those
I remember
too.
seeing him pull up to like wrestling practice in middle school to pick me up for the first time, and I was like, "Dang, that thing's sweet looking." And yeah, those wheels cleaned up really nice, and like I had them on my silver Ram too, of the same generation. And now here we are. You got 23s on the XB7.
If those Rams didn't rust to shit, I would absolutely love to have one of those.
I know. It's a shame.
It is a shame because that was
It's
a
good
classic
they've all
design.
gotten that in check over the years.
Well, you think you just haven't seen them yet.
For now,
They're
yeah,
15
that's
years
true.
old.
I guess we need like five more years to really start to tell.
Right.
But it's hard to say how long it'll take for them to rust, because the Pacifica long-termer that we had, do you remember? It had that hood rust after
at
like
35,000 miles or
yeah,
something?
it was like at the end of the loan, but still, it was like a year. It was like only a year of ownership. So I think it just depends on the car, because probably not all steel is created equal.
No.
In the
it really
Rams,
isn't.
hopefully they like save the nicest for that.
You'd hope.
But
Did
I don't know.
you have the M4? I'm sure you did, but the M4 with the bright blue seats, the manual.
Yeah, well, that's the one that I drove. I didn't,
Yeah.
so I didn't have any of these ones. They were short loans, and we had stuff to do with them. But
Okay.
I got to drive the M4 from a staffer's house, and it was that one. Yeah, it had like the little carbon fiber like insert.
It had like the
Like
gooch,
in the middle,
the gooch holder.
Yeah, the gooch holder. Yeah, that was so. It reminded me of like a fucking Cedar Point ride or something.
Surprisingly
with, like,
comfortable,
The
though.
shape of it, but yeah,
Did
it
you
was.
fit in? I mean, you're a
Yes.
larger gentleman.
Yeah, I fit in. And
Okay.
I am admittedly like 340-pound dude, and like 6'3", and I felt very comfortable in the seats. They weren't overly bolstered, and like sometimes when you find a seat that kind of has like a deep ass spot, you
like sit way.
yeah,
in.
and the bolsters kind of come up further on the sides. You equate that with being uncomfortable, like at least in the cars that I've driven that have been like that.
Yeah.
Thinking right now of the Cayman GT4, but in this, no, they're perfect. I think you could drive them daily, no problem, and have it be
Right.
fine. And they look cool. So the thing I really liked about that interior is just like the light blue, the lime green, like just it was a very interesting,
Yeah.
And in the days of like just everything being the same in a variation of a theme, especially when you come across like the luxury marks like BMW, every interior is almost identical. So anything that can liven it up just a little bit is nice. And I'm not saying they're not nice, but like you know, I mean, you get in an X7 and get in a 3 Series, and the similarities are pretty stark.
Who out of the main 3 German horsemen brands is your pick right now? BMW, Mercedes, Audi? Because I've gone back and forth.
To someone about this. I feel like
for me it was Mercedes for a while there.
Yeah.
When I drove the most recent E-Class, and I was not as impressed with it as I was. Remember the E-Class wagons, like 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
It's like the perfect car.
Yeah.
Just bank vault, quiet, and luxurious inside, and expensive feeling. It was like, why would you get an S-Class? You could just get an E-Class. Did not feel the same way about this most recent one.
I want to like Audi because I like their styling the most, I think.
And your household is an Audi household.
We do like Audi.
You are 100% Audi.
Yeah, since I don't own a car. But I think the looks of them are the best, and I don't know. I think that they're the most well-rounded right now.
Interesting.
Especially in the sports cars and the performance cars.
Really?
I guess they don't have a sports car.
We were just talking about how the sports cars are a little bland, the RS cars.
I just mean as far as like being able to drive them like all the time though. Like sometimes, I don't know. I feel like take our most recent comparison test. The RS7 beat the GT63 and the M5 or something like that. It might not be. So if it's not, then
whatever. But this is how we'll get famous.
So you'll
get fired, you'll get more money.
Yeah, right. So
wow, the RS7 beat the GT63S is like the best car I've ever fucking driven.
But you got to figure it's like a $70,000 price difference. The performance is only measured in tenths of a difference, and the Audi has the most comfortable ride and the most livable cabin, the quietest cabin, the most comfortable seat. Like you have to factor it all in. Like if it was like Max, choose one of these 3 cars. Price isn't an option. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like choose, to drive this car on a daily basis. Which one do you like the most? Obviously, it's a GT63. Right?
Okay.
But I think that, I don't know. I think that when someone's thinking about investing that much money in a car, even if they're fucking rich, you got to consider all of the factors. And I think a lot of those people do. That's why, you see, such a spread of cars out there is because people like one dude might be like, I like the attributes of this one and blah, blah, blah.
You gotta pick your ice cream.
Yeah, so
whatever.
I don't know, but I will say like I've always liked the Mercedes too, at least from, when I started at Car and Driver in 2016, just watching that brand kind of go from like full analog, like the previous gen C6, the last generation of the C63 with the NA. And like all the analog gauges, the 7-speed auto, all that stuff, and then moving over to the multi-clutch 9-speed and starting to get more into forced induction stuff. And
Mercedes has managed to keep the most manic if you will.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
The most raw.
Still turn it up to 11.
Yep, the shifts still are crisp and nasty in the AMGs, even in the non-DCT stuff, like in the 9-speeds. Like if you've driven an E53 lately, it's just still very snappy. Mm-hmm. And then, the BMW is kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum there. Everything's an 8-speed torque converter. They're all really smooth. They... they're very tractable like the Audis, I would say.
They are a little more like that.
But I would also say that like the Audis, they're kind of numb, and sterile inside and in their driving experience. Even when, you're like fully ramped up in an M5, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like you're kind of disconnected still a little.
We had the RS7 or RS6 Avant. Beautiful car, super neat. But you could tell, I mean, even like, most aggressive RS mode, full tilt, it was still quiet. It was still serene, which if you lived in Germany and you were trying to do 170 like cruise control on the Autobahn, sure, perfect car.
Yeah.
But, and most people who own those probably have 14 other sports cars that they can choose from. But I was expecting more of the manic side, more being able to turn it up and just...
Yeah.
Did not get that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is like that's intentional. Right?
Exactly. I'm not
so it's like
saying
I wonder why, you choose to make your RS car
Yeah.
or your AMG. I mean, the AMGs aren't suffering from this as much, but why is it that we're toning down the highest stuff? If anything, you would say like bake that into your lesser stuff more, or even just the non-performance models of the same car, and literally let your RS be the one that really shines.
100%.
RS, sorry.
Clever.
But seriously, like let it stand out, Like I don't mind if the ride's a little bit more brittle. Maybe don't put fucking 22s on a car, for starters.
What a concept.
It's got this super like intricate, complex, multi-link air suspension and like all this stuff's going on, and it's like, I've driven the previous gen RS7, and if I had to pick one or the other, it would be no question which one I would pick.
So good.
Yeah.
Looked menacing.
And I like the new looks, but I like the old looks even more. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's just becoming like there's a point where it's like change for the sake of change. The cars weren't like, you could have improved them in a different way. And it just seems like everyone wants to have as many screens as possible. Or like, you look at the S-Class, like I had that for a couple nights and it was super cool. Like the 3D instrument cluster and just like all the cool stuff with the infotainment and like lights and technology related things. It was really cool. But it's just so like, it's almost like you start to lose the driving experience, which I know a lot of people don't care about anymore, but you start to lose the driving experience. And the biggest thing with the S-Class for me is like the W123, I believe, or 122.
Who the fuck knows?
The last generation of the S-Class was kind of like the perfect marrying of technology and like old school Mercedes. You had your wood grain dash, which you can still get, but it's not like that was like raw wood with the circular vents and stuff, like just quintessential Mercedes. And some of like the craftsmanship just kind of starts to, it just seems tacky, just
there's so much money and effort and emphasis put on the technology that some of the finer things, the good strong glass of whiskey element of the car is going away a little bit. Yeah. So something you said earlier about, I think it was like there are a lot of brands are taking away from, like, if it's an RS model, why isn't it just the crazy raw sort of thing? What sort of cars are there still on the new market that speak to that? I mean, you've driven probably more of the performance Porsches than I have recently. I did drive the Cayman GTS, which was really good, but I haven't driven like the top tier stuff. Are those still like?
Yeah,
do those do it?
They do it. Not in the way that I think we're thinking about for like RS7. Like that's
just any brand that's turning it up, saying fuck comfort, fuck.
Well, the thing about Porsche,
design for the sake of design or whatever, like we want an ultimate raw driving experience. I'm not even going to say like raw driving car, but like, I mean, like I would almost say what you were talking about with the Mercedes, like that is raw. That is a raw luxury experience, like the old S-Class. Like that's the main focus. So what brands are turning it up to 11 with the intended purpose of their cars?
Porsche does a great job of that, but I just, not to be too much of a Porsche slappy here, but I almost feel like Porsche is so good that they do that and still make the car like be able to settle down. Maybe a GT3 RS or something. Mm-hmm. Sure, that's going to be on boil all the time. But if you buy a GT3, that can still be a comfortable road-going car all day.
Fair enough. Which is not to say it's a bad thing.
No.
As long as it can still be turned up to 11.
Up to that. Yeah, 100%. And I think that they have that, and I think that Mercedes has that, and I think that Audi could have that if they wanted to. I think Audi's like kind of, I mean, Mercedes obviously is too, but I think Audi's really trying to commit to the electric stuff before everyone else.
Did you drive the new GT?
I didn't get a chance to drive it, but I've driven like
e-tron GT.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to drive the one that we had, but I've driven like 3 or 4 Taycans.
Oh.
So I mean, similar, anyways, in their performance. It's like a 4S, isn't it? Essentially, in power, it's like in the 400s or so.
Is the Taycan a satisfying Porsche driving experience? Because like all Porsches have always been remarkable to drive, even like a Cayenne, Macan. The only one that's kind of missed the point was the Panamera. Is the Taycan more like a Panamera? Or is it more like a Macan? or like a?
It's definitely, it's more like a Panamera.
Okay.
It's like, oh yeah, it's for sure a very sporty and dynamic car. It's got a great chassis. It's a
Okay.
little heavy, but like you wouldn't know. Like
Sure.
you can really, I've hustled it around the loop plenty, like a couple times when we
Okay.
did the EV1000.
Yeah.
And it feels really good. It's just weird to have that sound. You know, it's like,
Really?
it sounds like a, you know, a TIE fighter or
yeah.
like some weird like sci-fi
Space
vehicle.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Okay.
it's cool. Like when I drove the you know, the Turbo S is the one to get for that.
Okay.
And the launch control in that car is like pretty significant. Every bit as good as the Model S's ludicrous cheetah shit.
Gotcha. What do they do for a launch control in an EV? Is it just like what is it? It probably warms up the batteries a bit. I mean,
Yeah,
is it like a
as
brake torque
actually
sort of thing, or
physically,
is
I
it
don't
like-
know. It's not a brake. I don't think it is a brake torque.
It's
It's
not
like
like
it's like
releasing-
it goes beep beep or something. It's like launch control ready, and then it's like boom, you know. Just I don't think it really does a whole lot
Okay.
of anything.
Sure.
But the Taycan does benefit from having the 2-speed rear
That's
too.
right.
So you
That's
get
right.
around like it's been like over a year since I drove it, but like you get perceivable shift around like 50 or 60 miles
Really?
per hour, and that rush kind of rejuvenates itself, whereas a Tesla kind of doesn't fall off, but like definitely starts to fall, you know, decrease a little bit as it gets near the 90 to 100 mile an hour range. I know the Plaid is just a fucking animal. I haven't
Who knows? Yeah.
experienced anything with that yet or really looked into it a whole lot, so I can't
Right.
say that. But as for those two, yeah, it's pretty good. But it's not, you know, it doesn't give you that ballistic bonkers feeling because you don't have a fucking loud forced induction V8
Yeah.
ripping or naturally aspirated, you know, either.
Right.
Just since we were talking about the German cars, I left naturally aspirated V8s out of the.
Well, let's get into that a little bit because some of the other cars that are still pretty tuned up to 11, GT500 Mustang. Do you think that still does it for you?
Oh yeah, that.
I know that's not naturally aspirated, but getting into
No,
GT350.
I think that's a great
that conversation.
That's a great one to transition into. The GT500, I am in love with, and
Really?
like
that still surprises
yeah,
me.
grown as a Mopar boy.
Yeah.
And definitely have respect for the Hellcats and stuff. But if you actually want to go quickly and then also turn to and then do it all over again and, you know, maybe get the cops called on you a couple times, like the GT500 is just so, the only thing that you could really complain about it is the fuel consumption. I believe when we were ripping it last year at 10 Best, when you would get in the car, like after filling it up, it'd be like 94 miles to empty. So yeah, definitely can consume some gasoline, but yeah, no, it's great. And you don't really hear the supercharger in that car,
No,
but
you
it
don't.
just sounds like a fucking NASCAR. And you start it up and get that like excited teenager feeling of like, I'm going to get in trouble, you know?
Do you agree with Ford's decision to stop making the GT350 alongside?
I think Ford's reason for doing that is just purely like because they are going a different direction as a company. I guess it's probably time considering just what they're doing. But I think that people would have bought it for a time longer.
I almost think of it as like the GT.
It was so good in 2020 too. Like when the last
once they
GT350, all the
yeah.
problems were gone. No
Right.
tram lining, way more secure feeling.
Yeah.
The engine had different pistons or rings or something that helped it with its oiling issues. So yeah, I don't know. It like it's sad for sure.
GT350 to GT500 to me is almost like, and see if you can vibe with this, 911 GT3 RS to 911 Turbo S. Like the Turbo S is faster. Like, you know, it's
Change
more of just
Turbo
like
S to GT2 RS, and I would agree with you.
yeah, okay,
Ford,
that
at
makes
least
sense.
Ford's version of it.
yeah, you're right, because then you
Yeah.
get the force induction. It's just
Yeah.
faster and
Yep.
just
and it's
crazier.
fully racy.
But like, I would probably, I mean, I guess I've never driven a GT2 RS, but I would probably rather have a GT3 RS, and I think I'd rather have a GT350. And I know we've talked about this before, and you don't necessarily agree.
No, I would with those
You would?
three. I really.
But would you take a GT350 over a GT500 for your personal car?
Well, probably.
Yeah,
Because-
there's something about getting to just.
The 2RS is fucking sweet. It's water injection. It's
Well,
got
okay,
like
that's a different.
yeah. It's got like rear drive, like launch control that'll pin you back. It's like I think a 2.6 or a 2.7 when we tested it. But
Sure, but it's just with the Fords.
just
With the Fords.
oh.
Would you take a GT500 or a GT350 for your personal, or even 350R.
So GT3 over the GT2 RS, and I would take the 500 over the 350.
See,
but the one thing that makes me sad about that is I do think that the GT350, I want to say on record that it's a more engaging car to drive.
Exactly.
Obviously, it's manual, it revs high, it sounds
just
different.
about as good. It's a little quieter and a little different.
Yeah.
But you can obviously only legally go up to 70, 75 miles per hour or so, and you can get away with, going 20, 30 over in certain stretches or higher than that if you know what you're doing. You got a radar, everything like that. But that GT500, I just feel like after 3 months of ownership, you would still get the satisfaction of rowing your own and getting to make a little bit more ruckus. Yeah, in the GT350 versus just getting in the GT500 and twisting that fucking stupid little
escape
rotary
dial.
knob. Yeah, escape dial. And just going, okay, foot goes down now.
Yeah.
And I doubt that car's making full torque in first or second gear.
No,
You're probably not
It's
getting full
probably
tilt until
reserve.
third gear.
I would agree with that. I would also say on that, the thing with the 350 is like, it's fun to ring it out and stuff, but it is hard to kind of have fun with that car around town and in places where the speed limit is so low, whereas the GT500's not. Yeah, so like when I drove the GT350 last, it was a quick, 10-minute love affair.
Okay.
And I just did like 1-2 pulls, and that was very satisfying. But even then, you're getting but mid 2, you're at over 60.
You're right. The gears are still pretty tall.
So like there isn't really a gear in that car that you can not break the speed limit in at any given place unless you're on the highway, right?
That's a good point.
Like a highway on ramp. But where a GT500, you can like slide it out of a like the office parking lot or whatever onto onto boardwalk or whatever, and just nail it and get up to whatever real quick, slow back down. It just all happens much quicker.
That is a good point.
And that DCT is very good.
It's good.
Very good. The Transcal on that is very good.
Ford is finally getting their shit together. Transmission's
Well, maybe Tremec is.
Yeah. Well, have you driven?
I don't want to give Ford too much credit there.
Have you driven the new Bronco?
I have only driven it to the gas station and back.
Such smooth shifting. I was
Yeah,
really
it is-
impressed. I'm not a big fan of the new Bronco.
That's a 10-speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine.
And it's very smooth.
Yeah, that was the V6
Yeah.
twin turbo, and yeah, I liked it. The only thing I didn't like about the Bronco that much was just the kind of the cheapness of the interior.
Oh my god, fucking Walmart
Classic
brand
Ford.
Legos.
Yeah. But other than that, no, I really liked it, and
Really?
I think that I would probably go for a 4-door just because I like the looks of it more. But I know that like the off-road peeps are gonna go for the 2-door.
Yeah.
And it's much roomier than a Wrangler inside, which
That's
that's
true.
my like biggest gripe. I'm not a big Wrangler person one way or the other, but I just hate how fucking close you sit next to each other in a Wrangler and the Gladiator. You might as well be in a Ford GT, damn near, like sharing the center armrest,
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Bunk
like,
elbows,
might
guess
as
we gotta
well put my
fuck.
hand on your knee, Like, I hate that so much, so.
Let's go back to muscle cars. I have a bone to pick with Chevy and the fucking Camaro because
why?
it's an excellent car.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then you know that surprised Pikachu meme where it's Pikachu like, ah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Marissa and I
That's
talk about that all the
Chevy
time.
because fucking Dodge is out here coming out with every special edition of the Challenger known to man and Charger. Ford's coming out with the GT500, the Mach 1, which is no different than a PPL2, but still they hype
But
it
slightly
up.
better.
But,
but yeah.
same, whatever. Fucking no one's going to know the difference. Just looks different. And then Chevy is like, why is the Camaro dropping in sales so much? It must be a bad car. We should discontinue it. It's because you haven't done anything with the Camaro since the Hot Wheels edition.
I'm going to go on a rant.
And then you fucked up the looks, and you had to fix the looks. Nothing's happened with the powertrains. Nothing's happened with the looks. No special editions.
Nothing.
And they're not in the press fleets.
Even too. That's the thing. Like everything was already set there. For
It's
you
a
to have
great car.
Winner.
It's a great powertrain. It's a great chassis. It's a great suspension, transmission, everything. And they're not. I have asked for a Camaro for the last 2 years. There has not been one in the Detroit press fleet. No fucking Camaros. Instead, they're like, well, maybe people will buy the 4-cylinder.
2019 10 Best was the last. Last one.
Exactly. And so Chevy's sitting over here like, what? Oh, I guess no one likes the Camaro. I guess we should just cancel it and maybe have a fucking electric one or something. Dog.
Dude, I swear to God, that's so wrong to even say. Electric.
They could
Camaro.
put 2 weeks of effort into the ZL1, bump it up to 7-something horsepower.
I know, I was just
come out
about
with
to
a
say that.
special edition, and totally bump nuts
this?
with the GT500.
Put a fucking larger supercharger on it, like 2.4 liter, like the Hellcat and the GT500 have. Bump it up a little bit. It's just fine, and then continue on. The Camaro has better cooling than the Corvette anyways, so it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
And then you can even maybe bump up the SS's power a little bit. Like, update the interior. The interior
Jesus,
was the thing that needed the most fucking work.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, 2SS is still pretty nice, but
It's
you're right.
nice. I
could
literally
benefit
only
from a
mean from
facelift.
an ergonomics and like pragmatism standpoint, like having some door storage or
Right.
having like, something in the center console other than a weird ass phone thing
It is a little
behind
tough.
my elbow.
Don't get me wrong, the C8 Corvette is excellent, but as the Corvette moves away from being any semblance of a muscle car, you can't abandon the muscle car desiring people
Right.
with the Camaro.
Well, and the Camaro could have just taken over where the C7 left off, essentially.
Absolutely. The
And you
C7
had-
and the Camaro were a little close.
Yeah,
They're
and
a
you
little
have
similar.
so many variants now, like of the Camaro and of the Vet. Like it could just be like, I would fucking love for this to happen at Dodge, where they have like some sort of CUDA type vehicle or whatever, and the Challenger keeps being big and dumb, and people will buy that because they like that, and then the people that actually want to go to the track can go buy a CUDA ACR or whatever.
Based on
the
like
hell.
the Giulia chassis or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, they're not going to do that for packaging reasons.
Okay.
From what I understand now, just they couldn't fit everything the way that they wanted to. And now the Giorgio platform would have been good.
Okay.
But dude, who knows? Like Dodge is so tight-lipped about the sports car stuff. Like right now, I'm convinced that there's a Viper replacement in the works, and
Yeah.
it has been for a couple years now. So
Yeah.
whether that is a CUDA or something else, I think it's going to be whatever it ends up being is going to be sweet. Don't know what engine will be in it either. But
Right.
like, they really missed the ball. They missed the opportunity there to, capitalize in a market where I think that the reason the Camaro never just fell off is because Chevy let it die.
Exactly.
It's not because people
100%.
didn't want it. People like Camaros. And
Yes.
honestly, like I would buy a Camaro over the other two.
Me too.
For
Yeah.
sure. Just a
100%.
better car in every way. Better suspension, better transmission, better engine, just like better driving car.
Yeah.
You
have a practical car in your household, then you get a Camaro. I would get a Camaro over a C8.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Cheaper. You're only losing a little bit of performance, and you get to row your own, and like
and just
sounds
real
better,
world. Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds way better.
Yeah, and this conversation might be completely different once Z06 comes out with the Corvette, everything like that. It's good. But again,
I think the Z06 is going to be a wet dream for
my
458 lovers.
I respect Chevy for distancing the Corvette from the Camaro because they were very close.
Yeah.
But you can't just let the one go out to pasture.
Yeah.
You can, but it's stupid.
Yeah. No, and they did really just let it go out to pasture.
100%.
After that 10 best, I feel like I just stopped hearing about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, is the front grille being different really that egregious that all of that stuff comes after that? Jesus Christ.
I do agree that they fucked up the facelift and it doesn't look quite as good. I would still have bought one though. It wasn't ugly enough
I
to
see
make
'em.
it so I wouldn't have bought one.
Yeah.
And I would still, if I were in the market for a new car now, I'd still consider one. Probably because you can get a fucking great deal.
Well,
on
also
one.
too, who
But,
the fuck is the person that is like, it looks good to me, Like,
I know.
Where
Dude,
was the talks? Where was the collaboration? It's
hope-
like the Supra with the windows down. Like, how does no one drive it with the windows down before it goes to production?
I hope they took whoever was doing Chevy design like checkoffs in 2019 or so and shot them.
Yeah.
Because fucking the Silverado got fucked up. The Camaro got fucked up. Arguably, the C8 is cool, but it's not beautiful.
No.
Like, they could have done a little bit. Do you remember?
I look at it though in certain angles. It just depends where you're looking at it from. Because sometimes you'd be like, man,
that's really cool.
yeah, and then other times you're like, oh God.
Do you remember when we first saw, before Car and Driver got all fucked up and we actually had like desks all next to each other and everything, when we saw the first like leak, it wasn't even a leak, it was embargoed photos of the C8 and we were all like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not great. And it kind of grow. When you see it in person, it looks better, but
I think
we were
it's,
like,
everything from where, like, from the intakes, the side intakes back, it kind of gets a little bit rough because it like rakes up and it's very blocky and
Almost
has very
cartoonish.
hard angles, and then and then in the back it just kind of ends up looking like the rear of the Princess Leia's ship, guys, whoever's listening. It is called the Corvette, actually. I believe it's called the Carillion Corvette.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's
you would
look
know
it
more
up.
than me.
But Yeah, it looks like a big block.
The front is very large, over styled as well. It's like a caricature. It's very big headlights, you know. And don't get me wrong, still a cool car, but I will say I am getting to the point where I see C8s and I go, those are starting to become common now. Like I even saw a bright blue one go by.
despite
you're just
the
some
shortages
fucker with a
and
C8.
everything.
Yeah. It's
And it is the Carillion Corvette is actually
Corvette.
what this is called. And it's funny because it's skinny in the front and then widens out to that back.
Chonk in the
Go
back.
look that up, people, from the rear. The Carillion Corvette from Star Wars. Blockade runner.
There you go.
But yeah, no, the C8, I think that it could get a lot better too with the next variations. It needs to be wider in front and in rear to kind of give it like more of a, like right
that
now,
would look good.
It looks like the same as you would see a C7 base or Z51 and be like, you still got some lifting to do, bud.
A little bit. Yep.
And you'll get those bigger tires, different wheels.
Right. When you see a Grand
offset.
Sport or something, you're like,
Oh, I keep forgetting the Grand Sport, but even the Grand Sport's going to be sweet. And like I've heard rumors that it could even have an electrified front axle or something like that. Just to keep it, kind of elevated a little bit more over just like a Z51 or something, other than the fact that it's going to have the suspension and tire stuff. But
yeah, the C8 it's always been such an interesting car for me because it's so good. Yeah, it really is. So
I remember when we drove it together.
First, you and I were like some of the very first people outside of Chevy to like get serious seat time in the car, and I just remember I got a video of you just being like, "Holy shit!" Yeah, it's such a great car, and it elevates itself to the next plane of like there are things you'd complain about the C8 that you never would about the C7 just because
it wasn't approached. So you couldn't have done it.
It'd be inappropriate to do so.
Yeah.
So everything, all my nitpicks about the C8 are because it's so good that now you got to aim higher. You always have to aim higher. You can't just be like, all right, you did it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of a bummer, I will say, just because like I've spent a decent amount of time now in the C8 and it's just not something you can play around with as much. Like you can still like slide it and stuff, but
that was my very first complaint. You remember that? I was like, C7 made you feel like a badass.
Yeah.
And like I want to go burn donuts in Walmart parking
and just
lot.
row gears and just like do America stuff.
Rumble. Yeah, America. Going back to Dodge, I think Dodge and Stellantis in general are in one of the best positions out of the domestic manufacturers right now.
Remember what I said when I started? Remember 5 years ago, I was like, you guys wait 5 years from now, blah, blah, blah. And it's not exactly like I thought because like the market's changing a lot too.
Yes.
But like I would agree. Stellantis has a ton of assets as far as like hybrid electric technology goes and more like the economic side. And we have the power of the guns.
This isn't saying they can't still fuck up. They could totally fuck up. For sure. But they're in the position.
And the money too is just
they're on the right trajectory. And if they don't fuck up, they will be the best domestic car maker, if you can still call them domestic at this point. GM's always on that like teeter-totter of like they can make great stuff, they can make bad stuff. I think a lot of the stuff Ford's, I don't know,
the one thing
Ford
I wonder
with me.
is like I know that small cars don't really matter, but when they're done right, they're so respected. And I just wish that Dodge could come back and make something that's like Dart 2.0 because that had so many things with it that was right. Before you look at all the reliability and like the shitty dual dry clutch and all that stuff, like I think that like having like a small car that's well styled, that has good value and like maybe even a slight performance proposition or as at least a good platform, like a Civic to have an SI or something like that. You know, the SRT Ford Dart existed at one point on the proving grounds.
Wow.
And that was like a dream I had right around the time that I got my WRX is that I wish that one day Dodge would make a 4-cylinder turbo all-wheel drive manual fucking compact car.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just like the SRT4. I know that like I'm hella biased when it comes to this, but like that was just such a fun car for me to own. And like, I just wish that Dodge would like have some skin in that game. Yeah. Chevy too. Like, I just wish they all would. Like, what happened to driving
Ford too.
cars?
Ford's out too. Dude, Ford.
The new ST fucking looks great. Like, why isn't it here? Tell me why it's not here. That is the biggest thing for me.
At least Dodge has the excuse that they don't make anything anywhere else. Ford makes the Focus and the Fiesta great cars.
And maybe it's just because we live in Michigan, but people drive the ST. I see them every day, all the time.
And they give us the EcoSport.
Yeah.
The fucking EcoSport. Probably one of the worst cars on the market.
going complete.
Yeah, they just
pretty
announced
soon.
they're done doing
Did
Indian
they?
production.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's why.
Yeah. So they haven't announced they're done.
The
with
writing's
sport,
on the
but
wall.
It's writings on the wall. They got to.
Yeah.
I
Which
think
makes sense, dude. What a piece of shit.
I know. It's
I
such
fucking
a
hate the
shittiest
Echo Sport.
It's funny.
Eco Sport.
No, it's Echo.
No, it's Eco. You don't pronounce Eco Boost and Echo Sport differently because of your intention.
Our video, one of our video guys, Christopher Brower, had never driven an Echo Sport until a few months ago, and he's like, "It can't be that bad." Because we're like, shittiest car ever, like so bad. And he's like, dude, it can't be that bad. He drove one. He's like, oh my God. And they made it shittier for this model year. They like decontented it. They like got rid of the leather steering wheel and like a few other things. They just made it intentionally shittier.
No use putting lipstick on a pig, as they say.
Exactly. I will say with Stellantis, I think the Fiat 500's got to go.
Yeah, I think Fiat's just got.
I think Fiat has to go in general. You're right.
I've always hated that. That's like like Fiat Chrysler was Fiat Chrysler. Why couldn't it have been like Ferrari Chrysler, or Alfa Romeo Chrysler? But yeah, no, I agree. I think that no one really even fucks with Fiat other than in Europe and Italy.
I think they could just get rid of all the 500 variants, the X and the L and everything, because Jeep takes care of that. What would you rather have, a Compass or a 500L? Like fucking Compass, dude.
100%.
A great car,
Not even a
Cherokee.
Question. Yeah.
All this like Renegade, all decent cars.
I think that Dodge needs to utilize Chrysler and Stellantis needs to utilize Chrysler and Dodge a little bit better because it's like everything comes through Jeep. It's like every little like segment that we occupy that even has a good, and I keep saying we just because I'll try and stop that. But I think that they just, everything's kind of consolidated in Jeep. The Renegade, the Compass,
they are a little overlap.
The Cherokee, all that stuff. And it's like, it would just be nice, if Dodge or Chrysler had a small car, if Dodge or Chrysler had a, small SUV. There was a time back when Sergio Marchionne was the CEO of Fiat, and Alive, that he had this 5-year plan that outlined a bunch of different models and stuff. And a lot of them
5-year plans?
Who?
Stalin.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think
that's true. Well, thankfully they got him then, right? But he had announced a bunch of stuff that did happen. 2 of the things that never happened or haven't happened yet, because I won't put the can on the Journey stuff yet. But the Dart never happened. The SRT4 stuff never happened. That was supposed to happen. Obviously, it was a piece of shit. And then the Journey, which I still believe is going to be a thing, is going to be some sort of crossover that Dodge might make that could also have some performance variant too. So
like they'll bring the Journey back?
Yes. As a normal, like,
they should just
contemporary vehicle.
Should just electrify it. Should be electrified. I know you're rolling your eyes right now, but like Model Y competitor,
Chrysler's like designing like
300-mile range
inline 6 twin turbo.
Oh shit.
Has been.
That's probably going to go in with a hybrid powertrain for the Viper.
Oh my god!
Inline turbo 6,
dude,
with a big ass hybrid.
I would be so
for
offended.
The Viper.
Yeah, I'd be fucking so. Well, I'd be offended.
Think about it. In the modern, it'd be like a hybrid Supra.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Like it would be like an American Supra, but I don't want it to be.
I know.
I don't want that. If anything, I would want it to have like a, if I had to give up the V10.
Would you be okay with a V8?
If it was just a fucking sweet V8, yeah, I'd be okay with that. But I just also think it'd just be weird, you got to take the side pipes off if you're going to do that. And I don't know. It should just be a CUDA. Like, don't sully the Viper name. If you're not going to put a V10 in it, no more.
Well, maybe that's why there isn't a Viper anymore.
Well, fucking dude. We saw him, I always get the names mixed up. A Viper employee, cut name out of there. A Viper employee told us a couple years ago that they had something in the works that we would really, really like, and it was in an enclosed trailer.
No shit.
At the proving grounds, it was in an enclosed trailer.
Wow, that's
I don't know what it is, and it goes along with that story that we heard from when they did the Ford GT at not Lightning Lap, but remember when they did that run with the GT out at VIR for Ford. Mm-hmm. And before they did any of that stuff, when they were like coming in, the Viper team was leaving with an enclosed trailer. But they got to hear, like, so before they were leaving though, for a couple hours, they got to, like, when they were sitting in the parking lot, could hear it. And it sounded like different.
Really?
So I don't know. I'm going to keep hope that there's something there, because Dodge, Dodge can't just have the Hellcat. Like the Hellcat is not Dodge's Halo car, you know?
Right. Well, and the other thing, Stellantis does take their time with vehicle development, special vehicle development. You look at the TRX.
Yeah.
They fucking dragged their feet. Came out with a great product.
Yep.
But so maybe they're dragging... I don't want to say dragging their feet as though they're being lazy, but like they do take their time.
Yeah.
For
that's why
reasons.
the Ram was so good.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much like 10 years to go from, you know, the 09 Ram. Then it got a mid-cycle refresh in like 2013 when Ram became its own brand, and it got the Uconnect, and it got like a nicer interior. But then it kind of stayed the same all up until 19, you know? So it's a long time coming. But they don't make mistakes like Chevy does, you know, when they make it worse.
Yeah.
So
I
don't know.
Before we get wrapping up, what are some cars you're excited for here for the rest of the year?
I've got some. Yeah. Okay. Definitely, I've driven them a little bit so far. CT4V Blackwing and CT5V Blackwing.
I've heard very good things. Is that how you have to say it? V Blackwing? Can't just say CT4 Blackwing?
I think you can, but the name
the name is V Blackwing.
Yeah, is V Blackwing. I know it's fucking stupid. And also, I just have to say this: what happened to those dual overhead cam V8s Cadillac? We want to know what's going on with those. Millions of dollars lost. Anyways, but. Those three, or I guess there's probably there's an automatic CT4V also. So I'd be driving all of them eventually. But the manuals, most particularly, I did drive an automatic one, and it gives me the same feeling that the ZL1 automatic does. It's great, but God, the manual is just so much fun. I mean, really, truly enjoy driving the manual CT5V in particular. But the 4 sounds way better. Like, honestly, could see myself owning one now that the exhaust is way better and it's got slightly more power, spools a little faster. Like, it's a much improved vehicle. I was really impressed with that. I'm really looking forward to the Jeep Grand Cherokees and Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer just because I have been waiting since like 2013 for these to come out. When I was a porter at the Chrysler dealership in my hometown, the salesman had just come back from this like dealer meeting where they unveiled the fucking front end of it and like showed them what it was going to look like.
That's a long time.
It probably changed from then to now, but they were talking about it back then, you know, like you were just saying, they take a long time, 8 years, you know.
What's the difference between the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer?
So Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer, I guess you could say, is like the difference between like, it's not like...
Is it like Yukon and Yukon XL?
It's like Yukon to Escalade. I think the Grand Wagoneer is...
So Grand
like,
means it's more luxury.
Yeah, Grand is more luxury. Yep.
Is it the same platform?
Same platform, same size. It's Grand is just like features and accessories. So the Wagoneer comes with... I think that you can get it with the 6 or the 5.7 Hemi, but the Grand Wagoneer comes with the 6.4 only. And it's like the Scat Pack 6.4. It's not the truck 6.4. It's like a quick 6.4, which whatever that means in that. I mean, it might not be quick, but it's going to have like 400 and I think it has like 400 some like horsepower.
470, 480 range.
Yeah. A little tuned down from that, but yes. More than like, you know, a competitor V8 though. At this point. All
right, so them. I'm excited about those
what
two.
Else? I mean, do want to drive the RS GT, e-tron GT, just because I think it looks awesome. I really like the looks of that over the Taycan.
I do like all the
even though the Taycan looks sweet.
Taycan looks kind of weird. The e-tron GT looks conventionally good.
It looks good for like an EV. Like I think it looks good. It makes me excited. Like I want to drive this EV instead of like the Taycan is like still kind of trying to be just like I'm maybe a Panamera. Like don't look too deeply into this.
I'm excited. I know it's
BRZ.
You the BRZ and GT86. I've heard good things. I've heard the only thing that sucks about those is the fake noise.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything else is good.
I'll turn that off.
Yeah. You have to like pull a fuse or something.
Oh, you do?
But, you can't just.
I won't do that.
Stupid. Then. But the other one I'm excited about, and the very other end of the spectrum, Lexus NX.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier. It's good. They're fixing the looks. They're fixing the infotainment. They're fixing the powertrain. And it's a boring car, but it's so good at being boring.
Yeah, I mean, I think a boring car with more power, more capability, a non-infuriating, non-touchscreen could definitely be a winner, especially like we were talking about the possibility, or not the possibility, it's confirmed, but the Prime
Yes, the plug-in
powertrain
hybrid.
is going to be available in it. I've really started to kind of like get into the plug-in hybrid stuff because I think right now that's the best way. You know, if you got one that can get you to work or even to and back from work, you could almost exclusively use your gas for other stuff and never have to use it to commute. And it's just kind of a cool novelty, I think. But yeah, I think the NX is going to be really improved. I'm not a huge Lexus guy, but like this is one of the first ones that I've been like kind of excited to drive because I did get to experience every NX, you know, that existed back in
you've seen the progression.
16 or 17. And they're very uninspired, let's just say.
I'm excited to drive, and we're actually getting one in a week and a half, the new Nissan Frontier.
Yes, we just did our first drive of that not too long ago, but I'm interested in that as well. I wrote the new cars piece.
I think it's just like, the bar is so low for mid-sized trucks right now that it'd be fine for, like, the Frontier just has to get like a B+, and it'll be the best in the market. Whereas like the Titan, give it like a B+, you know,
competition's a little thicker.
But the competition is so much better that it gets shit on. Whereas the Frontier, I mean, you're dealing with the ancient Ranger, the ancient Colorado, the shitty, even though it's good, it's shitty Tacoma, and then the Ridgeline, which is good, but in a different way.
I think we all like the Tacoma for
its shittiness.
Its nostalgia, like, and we all know it's a bulletproof powertrain.
It's
like,
what the fuck's the word?
It's like reputation.
You know,
Yeah,
but I think the Frontier will genuinely be good.
Totally. I mean, the thing is like the Ranger sucks. It's old, like you said.
It was old when it debuted.
The Colorado's still good, but it's old.
Yep.
I think that the Frontier, you know, it doesn't have a ton different with it. It is kind of more of like a heavy refresh, if you will.
Still shitty fuel economy and you know, powertrains.
But I think that
I think that's enough.
That's
for
what
the
people want
truck.
in that.
Yes.
Like they don't like it's going to be the nicest interior and it looks the best.
And you can still get a long bed too.
Still do
you
all
get a
the same
6-foot
shit
bed.
with it.
Yeah, which is very important in the mid-sized truck. I fuck trucks with small beds. I just can't stand that shit.
Yeah, and like that's the thing with the Ridgeline. It's like I like the Ridgeline for what it is, but it's like it's like this middle size, like it's not a truck and it's not this, so it's kind of just like, well, I guess if I like tailgating, maybe this could be great to have this little under storage thing. Does that have plugs that come out?
The Ridgeline or
the Ridgeline? In the under trunk in the bed or whatever.
I don't think it has plugs.
You could use that as like a cooler, but
no, it does. You remember you got car driver put a bunch of beer in there like first 2016 or whatever.
So I don't know. I think that the Frontier could be really good. I do think though that it's going to age quickly. I think that the others are going to. The others are going to catch up.
All it's going to take is one new Colorado or something, just
or Ranger. Any of them.
That's a good point.
And I think that those companies have been focused on their full size pickups.
Yeah,
and that's kind of one of the reasons. Like Ford was just trying to get the Ranger over here in the first place. Obviously didn't give a shit about doing anything with it.
It's totally different. Fuck you.
Maybe we'll get a Ranger Raptor like in the future when they bring out a new generation or something of it. But
what about Maverick? You excited about that, or just kind of meh?
A little. I mean, I'm interested.
It'd be cool to drive
just because it's new and different. Same way, I feel the same way about that as I do about the Santa Cruz.
Yeah, Santa Cruz just feels like a Tucson. It actually feels better than the Tucson. Because it's got structural rigidity in the middle because of the bed, so you can surprisingly rip that thing.
Really?
Yeah. But
perks of being unibody.
Right, exactly. Anything else?
I wish I had like a list of.
I know we need like a list
of things.
Next time maybe we'll come in with we'll look at more of the list of cars. But
GV70.
We're getting that.
I haven't driven that yet.
And that started next month. Genesis is almost getting so good that they're starting to get a little boring.
Yeah.
Because it's like at first it was amazing, like wow, this is so good for this price, and now it's kind of like you expect it. Because we had the facelifted G70, and I was like, this is good, but like the M340i is a lot faster. And more exciting to drive.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the C8 Corvette. Once you get to that level, people expect more of you.
Right. Well, and that's the thing for me is like I haven't even driven the GV70 yet.
I'm sure it's great.
But my coworkers tell me that it's very good and stuff, but it's just a little bit like, you know, for something that's kind of competing in the Macan's ring, it's a little bit softer around the edges, if you will. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I definitely don't have. I'm not going to go into it expecting it to be a Macan.
Fair enough, which is smart.
But it's,
It'll
I
be cool.
think
It'll
that
be
it
good.
might not be as good as the GV80 just because the GV80 is better suited to its size and
Yes.
its class.
I agree with that. Well said.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Max, for coming on.
No problem.
This was fun.
This was fun. I'd do this again.
Yeah,
This was fun.
100%. Yeah, we'll do it in the evening sometime with booze, and then it'll really get
Oh,
interesting.
God, yeah. Then, fuck.
You'll
All
have,
bets are off.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be doing some more of these, so
Save the
be
manuals.
Sure. Yeah. So, hashtag save the manuals. Someone's got to do it at this point.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Max. Oh, I'd take a GT500. Save the manuals.
I know. Well, give me a 760 horsepower manual V8
Hellcat.
supercharged that isn't a Hellcat or a ZR1 Corvette.
Cool.
It needs to be actually dynamic, but yeah, go ahead.
Actually have a chassis that's not fucking ancient.
Yeah, noodle.
So. And we will see you on the next one. We're Charlie and Max with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.